shortly. I know they've been really busy here lately. So let's dive into this Asante Samuel story real quick, Tim, if that's all right with you, man. Let's hit it right off the bat. So Asante Samuel Jr., as we expected, we've been talking about the last few days, he's starting to garner a lot of interest from several teams across the league. I know there's some Packer fans that they're not interested. Hey, we don't need him. I don't want him. What we seen when he was healthy was an ascending player. We got seen a guy's PFF grades improved every year. He got better every year up until he had to have the neck fusion. It seems like he's checking out really, really well. But our buddy Easton Butler's been all over this back several weeks, right? He said workout Thursday or Friday, as he quote tweeted himself. The Packers are scheduling to work out cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. And if all goes well, they will seriously look into signing the cornerback. That was per a source by Easton Butler. And then this all gets kind of confirmed. Everybody was rolling their eyes before, and now all of a sudden, bang, here's Ian Rappaport. It'll be busy couple weeks for Asante Samuel Jr. He's visiting the Panthers today. After that, it's the Packers Thursday, Vikings Friday, 49ers Monday, Bears Tuesday, and Steelers Wednesday. A thorough, methodical process. And he obviously quote tweeted himself, Chargers free agent cornerback Asante Samuel, who had a spinal fusion procedure this offseason, was fully cleared to return to the NFL by respected doctors David Okonkwo, I think is how you say it, and Nick Theodore in a letter agent Traven Smith presented to the NFL team. So the point here, guys, there is fire behind this smoke. The problem is exactly what we kind of led off with, Tim. We knew there was going to be several people interested. And listen, maybe a couple of these team doctors take a look at him and they don't feel comfortable signing him, right? The Packers may be one of those teams that don't feel comfortable signing him. But you're looking at now, Tim, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams, and 2 of which are also in the NFC North there, with the Packers being the Vikings and the Bears. So just wanted to kind of give everybody an update on that. How do you feel about it, Tim? I kind of feel like it's going to cause a little bit of a bidding war on the guaranteed money. And if I was Green Bay, I would not overpay. You're not overpaying for great here, right? You'd be overpaying for potential to be great. But as it sits right now, I think he was in the category when he was healthy of a good cornerback, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we could use a good corner, right?
Everybody, yeah.
For depth, and you got to understand. I mean, Asante Samuel Jr. hasn't played football in a while, so you talk about a guy who's going to have to get reacclimated to game speed. It shouldn't take him too long, but to think that he's going to sign with any of these teams and just come in and immediately start and immediately play, I think is something that might take a few weeks. But that being said, I'd like to snag him before the Vikings or the Bears get him, I guess. The fanboy feels that way. Plus, the connection from his time in LA with Coach DA. Coach Ansley was out there with the Chargers. So Asante Samuel Jr. has a little bit of a relationship there. So that may make things interesting throughout the process. But I think your point is very, very valid. It all depends on what the team doctors say and how they react to the workout and what they're seeing there. So there's a lot of variables, but it makes for an interesting weekend, considering we got to wait till Monday night for some Packer football. At least we'll have some Asante Samuel Jr. rumors for the next few days, right?
Yeah, definitely. Deadfish in the chat says that would be okay at a decent price. I completely agree. That's what it's all going to come down to, Deadfish, is like, what is that cost going to be there? Now, I know there's some people that think, Green Bay is in dire need of a cornerback right now. I got to be honest. I don't understand where they're coming from with that. I think they remember the worst plays of a game and think, oh gosh, that's who we are. And that's just simply, it's really not the case. I mean, the reality is in yards per pass attempt, the Packers are first in the NFL, guys. Now, again, it doesn't mean you don't have room on a roster for a good young player, especially one that's ascending, right? You're always looking to get better, especially in the future. And you got to kind of, when we talk about modeling the roster, we talk about that all the time. That's not a term I came up with. That's a Bill Walsh term. When you model your roster, you're projecting 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Where do we want this thing to be? Where are we at now? Where do we want the roster to be? The skeleton, the bones of the whole outfit, if you will. And I think you're always looking for a great young player, a good young player that could potentially be great for sure. So that's why I see a lot of people, a lot of differing opinions in here, and that's what we always welcome. I love it, man. Let's see. Let's go to a couple of them real quick before we move on. Tim J. Cole says Clayton would disagree, but I think corner is at the top of the loss this offseason next to center and defensive tackle. I can agree to disagree there, Jay, man, for sure. When you lose Jair, I know many people, and I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. When you lose Jair on the surface, you think, man, we lost a great player. Jai hadn't been healthy and he hadn't been great for a while. If you can go back and look at what happened in Philadelphia last year, week 1, he got cooked, by A.J. Brown. There was another game later in the year that when he was back on the field, he struggled. I mean, the other reality is, and you guys know I wanted him back for the price that Baltimore gave him the money. I wanted Jai back. But because it was, pennies on the dollar essentially. But I mean, now we're being proven right that or Goody's being proven right. That was the right move. Right now, he's going to Philly, and we'll see if he can stay healthy there. He's been battling the knee all year long. But in terms of what we lost there, Jay, if I was looking up in the team defense numbers in terms of passing, was let's say we were 20th, 23rd, something like that, I'd be like, okay, yeah, we need to be a little more aggressive at going and getting a corner because things aren't working. But right now, things are working in the passing game. I mean, we've got a really, really solid. I mean, just numbers wise, it is what it is. Whether we think it looks good enough or that's just like on offense. There's some people that think our offense is cheeks, and it's just not the case. Our passing game is 3rd best in the league. We'll talk about all that here in a second before we get into Chalk Talk. But let's see what else we got here. Joseph in the chat says trenches. Yeah, that's the thing I'm looking at here is, to me, the biggest need is offensive line. That's where we're struggling. We're struggling to run the football. And God love Matt LaFleur. He's trying everything in the running game. He's trying to, have a bunch of motion. We're trying to run duo. He ran a little pin and pull. That'll make Chalk Talk. I'll show you guys where the play where we had, I think, an 18-yarder that opens up Chalk Talk, as a matter of fact. That was a GT counter pin and pull play. The only thing he's not doing is outside zone. And I really wish he would try that a little bit. But, Tim, you remember after this Philly game in the playoffs, we immediately said, okay, we got bullied up front. It just took one injury, and the offensive line fell apart. And we're going to have to get bigger, and we're going to have to run the football, right? Yep. And then in the offseason, that's essentially what they did, right? They went and got Aaron Banks. Obviously, you had Jordan Morgan that you drafted in the 1st round last year. And then you go in the 2nd round, you get Anthony Belton. But Anthony Belton's battled injuries. God love Jordan Morgan, been bouncing all over the offensive line since he got to Green Bay, right? And Aaron Banks has been hurt the entire time. He ended up playing 8 or 9 snaps this past game. So I agree with Joseph. If you guys know how I felt about Quinnen Williams, that was one of the few players at the trade deadline. Like, man, if you could somehow pull that off, great. But obviously, he wasn't going to be able to do it, seeing that you just gave all the draft capital for Micah Parsons is going to be an uphill battle. But how do you feel about that? What Joseph says here, Tim, in the trenches, do you think that's the biggest need? Or maybe you agree with some of the people in the chat that corner is a bigger need?
Oh, no, I will not say corner is a bigger need. Not yet, at least. But definitely trenches. I'm with you. Offensive line, hell, defensive line too. We could use another big hog molly in the middle there. So I think trenches is a good way to go. And especially on the offensive side of the ball, it explains Matt's maybe hesitancy to get a little different looks when it comes to how we're trying to run the ball. And it could be due to this, lack of available personnel on a consistent basis. It's hard to get, any kind of rhythm going when guys are getting moved around a lot. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Joseph also asked, am I wrong for wanting to see better usage of Edgerrin Cooper by Hafley when the front 4 ain't getting home? I don't want to be the one to say you're wrong. Who knows if my opinion is correct and yours is right. But I always look at it from a global standpoint, Joseph. I look at it like, okay, where are we ranking defensive wise? When you go and watch the tape as well, you kind of marry those two things up and you look and go, okay, why did we lose this game to Carolina? If you had to ask yourself, why did you lose this game to Carolina? What would the answer be? Well, they ran the football effectively. We needed to be better at stopping the run, which we're way better in the rankings at stopping the run. So now you got to dig a layer deeper and go, okay, why did we struggle against the run? Well, we're going to show you on Chalk Talk 2 or 3 plays where you go, oh, that's what happened to the run defense. And I'll be honest with you, it's just execution. You had the proper resources allocated in the right spot. You had a spur safety in the box. You had multiple bodies. I'm going to show you a play with Javon Bullard, and we've all said Javon Bullard's played great against the run this year. He had a bad one and it was arguably the most important run that we gave up last Sunday. So again, it's not to try to bury Javon Bullard or any of the other players. It's not to try to harp on the negative. The whole point of Chalk Talk, win, lose, or tie in the Dallas Cowboys case, game case, the goal is to learn what actually happened, whether I want to agree with it, whether it pisses me off or not. The goal is, hey, let's try to figure out exactly what happened. So we'll dive into all that as well. But yeah, in terms of am I wrong for wanting to see better usage of Cooper? I think Cooper's being used properly. Personally, I know the numbers aren't as pretty as they were last year, but we ran a whole lot of more simulated pressures last year, and people were worried about the pass rush from the Carolina Panther game, Tim. But if you'll remember, leading up to the game, what did I say? Guys, don't be surprised if there's not a bunch of sacks, because they're going to be bringing a cage rush on Bryce Young. They're going to want to keep him in the pocket and throw from in the well. They did that, and what ended up happening? He ends up throwing an interception, and he barely passed for over 100 yards. So, again, it was the run game that ended up hurting you. But would you like to add anything to that, what Joseph said here, man?
No, I mean, it's, better usage. I don't know. I don't know what that means, because I feel like Coop's been used pretty much, as good as we can use a versatile player like that with the talent that we have. So I'm trusting Hafley at this point in the process. And, I think we'll see an improvement, especially against the run fits.
Yeah. And, the other thing too is, like, if you're referring, Joseph, to blitzing Cooper, we showed yesterday on the show last night, we showed a specific play where Jeff Hafley got really creative, and he ended up bringing Micah on a mock fire, and then the wheel was a scrape. It was a 56 scrape, it was essentially Edgerrin Cooper scraping off of that. That whole play design is for Cooper to hit home. It's let the attention go to Micah, let him go first. It works almost like a TT stunt in the middle of the defense, and then have him rush off of his hip. It was set up perfect, but Rico Dowdle came over and smacked Edgerrin Cooper right in the mouth. And that's not the dog Coop. It's a hell of a block by Dowdle. Gave just enough time for that ball to get out. But again, it was considered a pressure because of the GPS tracking and how close he got to Bryce Young. And that ended up being an interception. Whether you think it was a bad throw or a miscommunication or what have you, the reality is the pressure led to a pick. So I try not to dig too deep into that stuff. That makes sense. Like J. Cole said, though, Tim, that was a hell of a block by Dowdle. It was heck.
Well, yeah, it saved Bryce Young's life probably.
Yeah.
Another half a step, I think Edge Coop gets home there and gets a sack for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So let us know, guys, if you're watching this video back later, let us know in the comments what you think about Asante Samuel Jr. Obviously, the price for every team that enters the sweepstakes there, the price is going to go up a little bit more. How aggressive would you be going after Asante Samuel Jr.? Maybe you think they shouldn't even be wasting their time with it. We don't need him. Maybe you think, hey, throw the bag at him because he showed enough when he was on the field that he was going to be a great cornerback in the NFL. So let us know in the comments, and also hit subscribe, click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. All right, let's shift gears.